our speaker tonight, Judge Cara Wood from the 284th District Court. And so we talked a little bit, we've had a couple of judges so far, and it's been really interesting to know what we've learned things about the court system and we didn't know before, how it works, the different things that people handle, changes in the court over the last few months. So we're glad to have our guest speaker tonight, and she's going to do a presentation, and then we'll open it up to questions. So please help me welcome Judge Cara Wood.
All right, Julie's the only one I've ever known that actually pronounces my name the way it's supposed to be. We all say Cara because we live in Texas. It's actually Italian and it's Cara, so there we go. So she was right on. It doesn't usually get pronounced that way, however. I am Cara Wood. I'm judge of the 284th District Court here in Montgomery County. I want to thank you all for giving me the opportunity to talk with you tonight about the courts in Montgomery County, particularly the district courts. Give you a little bit of background, and I heard Judge Tyler say this one time when I was down here and he was presenting. He said, the first thing you're supposed to do when you're an elected official is recognize your family. So I'll take just a minute and introduce my husband, Kevin. Kevin, you get to stand up and wave now. Kevin has been retired for almost 1 year from Klein Independent School District. He retired as an administrator. He was an associate principal at the alternative school there, and before that he was a football coach in the Klein School District. We've been married, celebrated our 36th wedding anniversary last week. So, big event. And Kevin and I have lived in Montgomery County since 1978. So we're almost natives. We've definitely spent our adult lives here, so we've made this our home and put our daughter through school here. We have one daughter. She's a graduate of Conroe High School, Texas A&M, and that very conservative university in New York City, Columbia. And she now works in the very liberal state capital of Texas in Austin. So we're glad that we're doubly glad that she got a job, though. You know, it's a tough job market, even for well-educated, highly qualified young people. So we're glad that she finally got a job and she's close to home. So she is in Austin. And I will tell you just a little bit about myself. Like I said, we moved here in '78. I graduated from Texas Tech University, guns up, in 1977 from law school. Went to work for the Court of Appeals in Amarillo. It was actually the Court of Civil Appeals then, as a briefing attorney for 1 year, and then moved to Conroe and began private practice in Conroe, Montgomery County. I was the first woman to practice law in this county since the late 50s. So somewhat of a trailblazer, so to speak, I guess. So I've been here practicing law in private practice until 2002, and I went to work for the district attorney's office. I was an assistant district attorney, then I went in 2004 to the county attorney's office, became an assistant county attorney, represented Montgomery County in civil litigation. So that's kind of my professional background. Decided in 2006 to run for the vacant position of judge of 284th District Court. Judge Olin Underwood had held that bench since its inception, and he had retired. There were 6 of us in the Republican primary. We were a merry little band during the primary season, and I ended up in a runoff, won the runoff, and then I had a Democrat to run against in November. The only Democrat who's run for a countywide office in Montgomery County in over 20 years, and I was fortunate enough to have it. So it was a very exciting year in 2006 for us. But that's when I took the bench, June the 6th, 7 years, coming up this Friday. So been on the bench since then, and have, I was talking to someone a minute ago, it's not a fun job, but it's very challenging, it's very rewarding. So it is a job and an endeavor that I've taken to heart, and have certainly enjoyed my time there. And I want to appreciate thank you for allowing me to do that for the last 7 years. A couple other things I'll tell you real quickly about myself. Kevin and I'm a lifelong Presbyterian. We've been members of the First Presbyterian Church in Conroe for 28 years. I've taught a Sunday school class there for 23 years. We're kind of fixtures, I guess, at that church now. I've also enjoyed associating with lots of the local clubs and organizations. Most recently, I'm a member of the Conroe Lions Club. Lions, of course, are a wonderful organization. Served on the board there, served as an officer there. So I've done that. I've also been president of the Montgomery County Bar Association, served on the state bar committee, just recently reappointed to another state bar committee. What I want you to understand is I understand commitment, that I am committed to my God, my church, my family, my community, my profession, and the ideals that those all stand for. So just so you have a little information about me. Now to tell you a little about the district courts here in Montgomery County, I promised Judge Gilbert I would give him full credit for this wonderful PowerPoint presentation. I did adapt it from a presentation that he prepared. So with a few changes, but with all due credit to Judge Gilbert, Judge of the 418th District Court. I do have a couple of members of my staff here today I'd like to introduce to you. I have Amanda Whittington, who is the court administrator for the 284. She has been in that position for 16 years. Judge Underwood had the good sense to hire her, and I had the better sense to keep her. So she's actually been a good employee for Montgomery County and for the citizens of this county for 28 years. So she's an exceptional employee, and we're just thrilled to have her on the staff. I also have tonight with me Ms. Lindsay Carm. Lindsay's not very tall. Lindsay works as a court coordinator. She's been in that position for 2 years. Prior to that, she clerked for us when she was in law school at South Texas. She came to us as an intern, and she is a licensed attorney. Practiced a little bit and decided court administration was a good field for her to begin, and so she came back and we had an opening and she took it, and she's now court administrator, court coordinator for the 284th. We are so fortunate to have someone with that amount of knowledge and skill and license to deal with the attorneys that we deal with, so we're blessed. The Code of Judicial Conduct is something that we all operate under, including the staff. Everyone on the staff of the 284th receives a copy of the Code of Judicial Conduct, signs an acknowledgement that they understand it, that they've read it, and that they are bound by it. I did the same thing when I was first out of law school working for the Court of Appeals. And as a judge and as a candidate for judicial office, you're bound by these canons. And so I wanted to make sure that my staff understands it, recognizes it, and we operate under it. Canon 1, I'll just go through them briefly. I'm not going to read them to you. But just know that there are fairly stringent and strict limitations on what judges can and cannot talk about and can and cannot do. You'll notice number 5, inappropriate political activity. Judges cannot endorse candidates, cannot actively campaign. We can't attend political events. We can support a party, or otherwise to refrain from any political activity. We are not to fundraise for any organization. Sometimes organizations don't understand that, but I can't solicit funds. None of the judges can. Sometimes I don't think the public has a good, clear understanding sometimes of the reasons that we don't do things or don't conduct ourselves in certain manners. And that's the reason, when I donate something to the chamber, a door prize, it has to be anonymous. Because, there is the expectation that if my name's on it, someone's bidding on it trying to curry favor with the judge. And I know that sounds like a stretch, and it probably is, but nevertheless, to comply fully with the canons, which is my intent at all times, we don't do any of those kind of things unless we do it anonymously. Okay, anybody know what this is? Texas Supreme Court. Who knew? Yeah. It's not a very imposing structure, but nevertheless, that is it. These photos are courtesy of Judge Gilbert, too. And I do have this chart. I'm sure you can't read it, but it is on the Office of Court Administration website. It is a very good chart that explains to you the court structure in Texas. And I'm going to go through it briefly on a little bit bigger slide. But we have trial courts in this state. That would be the municipal courts. Those are your city courts. Everybody knows city courts. We also have justice courts, or JP courts as we call them. And in Montgomery County, we have 5 justice courts. So, you know, we have 5 JPs, all elected. I know Dwayne Ham's here, he's running for JP. And they are JP precincts, and they have judges, do not have to be attorneys, but they do have to be elected. Then we have as trial courts, constitutional county courts. This doesn't exist here in Montgomery County any longer. However, it did in 1978 when I came. The county judge, like Barb Sadler, when I came in 1978 was Mickey Dyson. Mickey Dyson actually heard probate cases as the county judge. Not long after 78, we did have a county court at law created in this county, and he no longer heard those cases, and Judge Sadler, of course, doesn't hear cases today, but in lots of counties that still happens. There's also in the law a provision for statutory probate courts. There are only 18 in the state. It's a very rare thing. I think once they created them, they figured out that really wasn't a good idea and they quit. But there are 18 that exist. We also have in the state of Texas statutory county courts. These are the ones that we have in Montgomery County now. We have 5 county courts at law, we call them. And we have, and of course, those are all lawyers, all elected judges. And they have jurisdiction over civil matters up to $200,000. They also hear the misdemeanor criminal cases, and in this county they hear the eminent domain or condemnation cases as well. And we have, of course, the district courts. District court cases, you notice we start at $200, so we have what we call concurrent jurisdiction with the county courts. But there is unlimited jurisdiction in the dollar amount. So we can hear cases with an unlimited amount in controversy. We also, in district court, hear felony criminal actions. Anything that involves title to real estate must be in district court. We also have the ability to hear juvenile matters. And the legislature can and has, in several counties, designated certain courts to be civil or criminal or general jurisdiction with the requirement to give preference. So it's a little unique. We'll go into that a little bit more, but that's what the legislature, of course, creates the district courts. We have appellate courts, courts of appeal. In Montgomery County, we are in the 9th Court of Appeals. I think Judge McKeithen was here just a month or so ago to speak with you. He's, of course, the Chief Justice for the Court of Appeals. He grades my papers, so to speak. And we are fortunate in this county to travel to Beaumont. And it's not years ago, the decision was made not to go to Harris County. I think it took a lot of work with the legislature to keep Montgomery County out of the Harris County appellate courts, but in fact moved us over to Beaumont, where we seem to feel like we get a better representation, and it has, I think, in fact, held out to be true. And in addition to the courts of appeal, we have the courts of criminal appeal, the Court of Criminal Appeals. That is the final appellate court in criminal cases here in Texas. 1 court, 9 judges. For the final civil appeal cases, that would be the Texas Supreme Court. And there are, of course, 9 judges on the Texas Supreme Court. And as you know, judges in Texas are all elected. We are elected officials. We run, at this time anyway, with a party affiliation. In Montgomery County, all of the judges are Republican office holders, just like everybody else in Montgomery County. But we do run at this time with a party affiliation. There are other duties and responsibilities that are imposed upon district and county court judges. These are imposed by the statute, by different codes, different laws. We have responsibility over court reporters. Each court has a court reporter. We have responsibility for hiring and for setting their salary. Judges are members of the bail bond board by statute. We also serve on the juvenile board. We also serve on the community supervision and corrections board, or adult probation. We also are required under the government code to have administrative judges, one for the district court, one for the county courts of law. We also have certain duties and responsibilities concerning indigent defense that are imposed upon us. We have local rules of administration that we must adopt and get approved by the Supreme Court. We also have certain duties and responsibilities with regard to jury management. We also have certain duties with regards to interpreters, both in civil and criminal cases. We appoint receivers under the rules of civil procedure. We also appoint ad litems to serve representing children or other persons in civil or family cases. We also have responsibilities that are exclusive to district court judges. First one would be the county auditor. We are responsible for the appointment of the county auditor, as well as setting the salaries and the budget for that office. And we also have the responsibility to impanel grand juries. Those are exclusive to the district court judges. We rotate that among the courts. There are 7 district judges, district courts in Montgomery County. And when it's your turn, you appoint, follow which procedure you want to have a grand jury and panel for your court. Everybody knows what that is? Yes? Everybody been to the courthouse? There we go, Montgomery County Courthouse. And if you look real hard, you can see where we are. We're right up in the... We have, as I said, 9 district courts. The 9th district court is a general jurisdiction court, created that way by the legislature. Under our local rules, it is currently assigned only felony criminal cases. That is the court that Judge Case took the bench in January of this year in that court. The 221st District Court is a general jurisdiction court assigned only felony criminal cases at this time. That's Judge Lisa Mychalk. And when I say general jurisdiction, that means we have the authority under the law to hear anything that a district court can hear. We're not restricted in any manner by the legislature as to what we hear. But what we have done in this county is we have chosen to assign the cases based upon this manner that I'm giving you, where those 2 courts, the 9th and the 221st, are currently assigned only felony criminal cases. The 284th, which of course is the court that I'm the judge of, is a general jurisdiction court. It is currently assigned only civil cases. And I also serve as the current tax court for all tax cases in the county. The 359th District Court, general jurisdiction, currently assigned civil and felony criminal cases, and currently serves as the juvenile court. That's Judge Hamilton. I think maybe she's coming next month to talk to you. She currently acts as the juvenile judge for Montgomery County. And then we have the 410th District Court. It is also general jurisdiction, currently assigned civil, family, and felony criminal cases. That's Judge Mays. He gets a full assignment of all 3 types of cases. We have the 418th District Court, Judge Gilbert. It is a general jurisdiction court created with preference to be given to family cases. This is one of those unique courts from the legislature, preference to family cases. It's currently assigned only family cases. And he has an associate judge, Judge Jennifer Robin. The 435th District Court, Judge Seiler's back here in the back, he has exclusive jurisdiction of the violent sexual predator cases for the entire state of Texas. He is also created as a general jurisdiction court, currently receiving a portion of the felony criminal case assignments. And I just had a few facts for the 284th that you might be interested in the almost 7 years that I've been on the bench. We've had 5,647 civil family cases filed. We've disposed of 5,902. I'm not sure what that says, but seems like a lot to me. We have criminal cases, 3,635 filed, 4,413 disposed. There was, of course, there were cases pending when I took the bench, and so that's why we have a few more disposed than were filed. Currently, since it is a civil court receiving only civil filings now, we have 406 tax cases pending, 171 criminal cases. Even though I don't currently get criminal cases, I still have jurisdiction and supervision over those criminal cases that have persons on adult supervision. So I still supervise people that are on probation out of my criminal caseload. And then I have civil cases pending as of May 31 of 1,367. So we're a busy court. Coming soon, and Amanda and I just spent a good portion of last week learning about e-filing in Texas. The Texas Supreme Court mandated all non-criminal cases will be filed electronically beginning January 1 in the big counties, and we may opt into January 1 as well. If you haven't had Barbara Adamick here, she would probably be a good person. She's our district clerk. It's going to be a massive undertaking for all of us. In addition to that, we are moving into a new case management system courtesy of the Commissioner's Court, which we are thrilled. We're getting off of our DOS-based case management system. I always like to throw that out because Brad goes, we are. It's not only is it embarrassing, I took an oath, I refuse to use it anymore. I try to make Amanda and Lindsay use it. But, so we really are. Our timing is excellent, probably by chance more than design, but we're going to get our case management system. We're supposed to go live in November, which means by January, when we're e-filing, we should be good to go. So it's a very exciting time for those of us that have been waiting for this. I've actually been working on this since I was in the county attorney's office. So, 10 years, I don't think that's too long to wait. And my last little, that was the drum roll, I guess. What do you call an attorney with an IQ of 50? Your Honor. That's Judge Gilbert's joke too. So anyway, that blitzed through the show. I'm not sure how much time I used, but I've got time for a little bit of questions. All right, Mr. O'Sullivan, you got a question for me?
Yes, please. We just had a whole situation in Commissioner's Court, and about 3 things came out of it. One, there was an allegation of roughly $16 million of overpayment when they built the Joe Corley jail, of which 8 was probably hiring the general contractor, and another 8 is alleged overbilling. Now you're in charge of, or all the district judges are in charge of the auditor. I don't know if the auditor approved the bills or somebody else approved the bills in terms of paying for that, but how do you get involved in that? And that's the first question. The second question, just had the grand jury came out, and they issued a letter, which I thought was very weird, because I thought they just did bill or no bill, and they sent an angry letter which had to be read in open court, which I thought was strange. And if you could explain about that a little bit.
Well, I will tell you our duties with regard to the auditor are limited by statute. Our duty with regard to the auditor is to appoint her to a 2-year term, renew her if appropriate, and to set her budget. That's basically our statutory duties. We do not oversee her office. Just as with the juvenile board, We hire a director of the juvenile services. We do not tell him what to do. If we're not happy with what he does, we may remove him, but we do not run that office. A couple of reasons for that. The first one is the duties are imposed by statute. We cannot exceed those duties. The other practical reason is there is liability for the responsibilities imposed upon judges that are not judicial. Those are administrative type duties, and so there's a very real awareness of our limitations and of our responsibilities, and we try not to exceed those. That's the primary duty. So we don't really oversee the auditor. We appoint, we set the budget.
And who would oversee the auditor then?
Well, you mean the performance of the auditor?
Yeah, if there's a problem with this, and this had, the auditor could or should, or who knows, have been more diligent, who would the auditor be responsible to?
Well, I think if there's professional malfeasance or anything of that nature, then I think it would be brought to the attention of the commissioners and of the judges. The removal of an auditor, there's some case law concerning that, but it's fairly restrictive. It doesn't happen very often, but it has to be for some sort of malfeasance, and it would require litigation. Okay. And your second question was about
The reading, a letter being sent to the grand jury.
You know, that's not without precedent. They have done that in this county. I remember I was in the district attorney's office when it occurred the first time. It regarded the Sheriff Guy Williams at that time. That grand jury issued a letter. It's happened in Harris County fairly recently too. Grand juries don't act in terms of indictment, but it's not without precedent for them to issue a letter. You know, the grand jury's secret. I don't really know too much else about their workings, but I will tell you that they're not the only grand jury to have ever done that.
Okay.
Mr. Boyd, do you have a question?
Well, I don't want to get into that so much, but I do want to mention what was really odd about it too. Not only the reading there, but the district attorney being up to the witness, but we hashed that out a little bit at commissioners court, and I did announce to the commissioners court that you come and speak. That's why so many people are here.
Is that why you're here? Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
But I want to go back a little bit and pick up on one thing. So when you want, you read the card, and it's in the card. And by the way, if you want to go to Mike's Cigars and see us, we'll help you get paid over there. But she always remembers how much percentage of the vote she got against. You know what that was? 28.3. That's what the Democrats have. But I do, that election was interesting, and I want to just ask you, if you don't want to go into it, that's fine. But one of the things that makes it, one of the things you had a real knockdown drag out in the Republican Party. You remember that?
I haven't forgotten it.
I wondered if you wanted to discuss that, because there was a division between maybe, well, I'll just ask you. And then the other thing is, for those of you who are real supportive of cops, those cops from Houston really went after you several years ago, and would you like to just talk about what they tried to do to you?
No, sure, I probably shouldn't talk about
You
that.
can talk about it, it's all good.
We're among friends. But you know, what judges do oftentimes results in criticism. You know, generally people that leave the courtroom, usually both sides are not very happy. But you know, criticism is a part of what happens, and I'm prohibited, I believe, by the canons about commenting on anything that occurs, and so I just don't. I think that's the appropriate response for me. You know, I make the decisions based upon the law and the facts, and I'm not trying to make everyone happy. I'm trying to follow the law and make the decision that I think is appropriate, and that's
I
what
think
I
you
do.
did the right thing. But the other issue is,
Thank you.
you talk about, but I really got mad at this on your behalf. But look, the other thing was, you want to talk because it's a very interesting issue in the Republican Tea Party. I'm a libertarian. Tea Party Democrat. But look, your primary involved one God person and one so much Presbyterian person or not. Can you tell us about that brother?
You know, it was interesting. I'll tell you in the primary, the newspaper was kind of took me to task a little bit about my noting my religious affiliation in my campaign materials and in other things. And I told them, just as I'll tell you today, I think it's important that when you elect judges, you bestow an enormous amount of power on anyone that holds that office. And if you're going to do that, I think it's incumbent, and I'm glad there is a nice crowd here tonight, but it's important that you know who the person is because you're trusting them. This is a public trust. And I think it's important, and that's what I tell the newspaper, I think it's important that you know everything that you can know about me. I'm a member of the USGA for those of you that are golfers, but I think I think it's important that you know me as well as you can in the limited amount of time that we might share. But that's a part of who I am, and that may be important to you, and that may be a reason to vote against me. It may be a reason to vote for me. I don't know, but it's important that I believe that you know those things. Yes, sir.
One thing I was interested in was the case brought to you involving the law, which is obviously a violation of the Constitution of the United States or the Constitution of Texas. What would you do? Would you treat this if it's a valid law, or is there something else you can do? And then there's the other issue that's coming up these days, Sharia law.
Well, I haven't had any Sharia law cases. That would be interesting. And constitutionality is really not an issue that gets raised in the trial court. So it's not something that I deal with. It's something that gets dealt with on an appellate level, not in the trial court.
But you said something about being in tax court. What kind of taxes are we talking about?
Ad valorem taxes, real property taxes.
What about Sharia law?
I've never had that brought, but we're bound by. I take an oath to uphold the laws and the Constitution of the state of the United States. That seems to me to answer that question or the issue if it's presented. Hadn't been presented yet, so I think I've got a hand over here. Yes.
You mentioned a website that would give me a configuration of court.
There's an Office of Court Administration website for the state of Texas. If you'll just Google State of Texas Office of Court Administration. It's not the best website in the world, but you can certainly find it.
It's complicated, so anything I can get will help.
Yeah, it is. The legislature doesn't help us either by having all these courts with just different jurisdiction. All right, and yes, sir.
Yes, Your Honor, thank you for coming out. I appreciate it. Nice to meet you, Steve. This question, I don't know if you can answer this, but I've been trying to get this answered by several different agencies in Austin, several different judges, just every place. I'm trying to figure out who in Texas controls the appraisal review boards. Because nobody's been able to tell me who. The Secretary of State, the Supreme Court, Texas Supreme Court, all of the courts in Harris County have told me, not us. And who controls them? Because if nobody controls them,
Well, I guess I'll add my voice to those courts that don't know. I will tell you this, I do have lawsuits that are filed with the appraisal when there's no resolution, or I think that's the result. If you are not happy with the decision of the appraisal board, there is a review process by virtue of a lawsuit.
I agree with you there. However, if an appraisal review board refuses to do part of its job, there's no court case for that particular section of code. What do you charge them with? You charge them with breach of fiduciary duty. You charge them with just not conducting their job. I mean, you have stated that you have to follow the statutes. It's my understanding that they have to follow their own statutes, and yet when they don't, to me, if you have to take them to court and spend money to fight something that they need to do, that just doesn't seem right. That's why I'm trying to figure out, who do you go to above them to make them do their job without actually going to court and spending $5, $6, $7, $8, $2,000, $3,000, possibly more dollars, and you don't have it.
I'm sorry, I'm not able to help you with the appraisal review board, but if you get a lawsuit, I'll probably end up with it.
Thank you, Ann.
Thank you.
Couldn't Mark Cashin shout?
Sure.
Yeah, the chief appraiser of the appraisal district answered that question.
I'm sure he can, and they very well may have some publication note.
Nope.
But
Right.
I believe Mark Kesselshode is the chief appraiser, as far as I understand, for the county. Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much again for letting me come. I appreciate it.